everyone. Today we're going to do some work to open up our hips. So let's start seated in a butterfly position and actually just scoot our hips back a little bit and pull our feet a little bit forward. Spine is nice and tall. Breathing in, we're going to exhale, just begin to lean forward with a flat back here. So this might feel a little different. We're used to pulling those feet in for butterfly, but we're just going to keep the legs a little more in that diamond shape. Come forward and just allow maybe a little more release through those hips, through those kind of tighter places through the outer thigh that we might not always notice when we have those feet close in and we're feeling it more in that groin area. So we just want to release those outer hips here. Couple breaths. Once we feel ready, now we're going to go ahead and separate our feet and just bring our feet a little wider than our hips. We're going to bring our hands behind us and just begin to swish the knees from one side to the other. It's up to you. You may want to close those feet in a little more towards your hips and just have a little deeper stretch, or keep them further out, but just try to find a space where you can let that knee get all the way down to the mat. Good. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and just pause and let the knees drop in together. And then we're going to open the knees, feel those knees press away, and see how far they naturally go. Slide the legs out a little bit now, and scooting back, straighten out those legs, flex those feet, reach the arms up, and exhale, just fold center. Now this is not your widest straddle. This is again just waking up some of those tighter muscles that run up the back of our legs, tendons that run all the way through the back of the legs, waking that up before we get deeper and deeper into those hips. Let's come back up, and now we're going to soften those knees a little bit as we pull them in and rotate those knees in and out. Try to find your full hip rotation. Some of us can go inward quite far. I don't have a lot of inward rotation. This is about it. Some of your knees may even touch. And then some of you may get your knees all the way to the floor here. We have all different hip rotations for each person. So just work with where your body's really ready to work today. And then once you feel a little woken up there, now we're going to pull those feet in and find that butterfly stretch. So once you're in your butterfly, arms to the side, let's just tip up and over to one side. Breathe in. Exhale, back up, other side. Just tip up and over. Breathe in. Exhale, back center. And now we'll come forward into that more traditional butterfly stretch that we're used to. Just take a few moments. Breathe into those outer hips. Breathe into your lower back. Breathe into any of those tight places. Start to just take note of where your body's feeling this. Where are you feeling a little extra tight or tense? And just taking note of that, just to allow yourself to consciously breathe into those tighter places. And every time you exhale, you can allow some of that tension to go. All right, once we sit up here, we're going to take our left leg out to the side. And first, just reach up and over towards that leg. Big side stretch. Waking back up, pull yourself up, turn towards that leg, reach up and out over the leg. Just pulling your chest towards that leg. And then come back up, we're going to come forward. So we're just going to crawl ourselves forward and just relax here. Just feel that foot flex. Try to keep those toes turned up as you pull forward. And you should feel some stretching through this inner thigh into that hip a little bit. Very good job. Now we're going to, before we switch sides, we're going to bend this knee, okay? And just kind of wake up this hip by turning, twisting away, and then pushing that hip back down, and then again, turning and twisting away. I like to do just some fluid movement here to wake up the hip, and I'm also taking my right knee in and out. So left hip is pushing down, left hip is pulling up, right knee is pulling in, and back open. One more time. Breathe in. Exhale, open, just twist. Twist away from that leg. So you're just going to twist away, fall away. All right, now as we come up, we're going to pull this knee in a little bit closer and start to lean back. We're going to stretch out the front of that hip. So you may stay on your hands. You may pull back to your elbows. You may lay all the way back, but just really feel that release through the front of that hip, front of that thigh. Breathe in. If you're a little more open in the hip, you may want to take that right knee up and just kind of shift over to the left. For me, this feels really good releasing through the front of that thigh. Those of you that are very open in your hips already, but you just feel tight and you can't quite get to that point, I also like to extend that opposite leg. That's very advanced, but it's just a good way for those of you that cannot seem to find that release. This is sometimes the only way I can get into that front of the hip. So when our hips are tight, it can be the front, the back, the side, all different places. So figuring out where that is. Let's slowly pull ourselves up and we'll switch sides. So now that right leg is going to extend out. Sit nice and tall, just like we did on the other side. We reach up and over. So waking up, opening up that whole sideways, that little area where your hip meets your waist. You want to just be able to wake that up, open that all up. Breathe in. Exhale, coming up, we're going to turn face that leg and just let our chest fold over the leg. This is opening that hamstring, that lower back. All those muscles are connected with your hips. So sometimes even if you might say, well, I don't feel this as much in my hip, by releasing the muscles around the hip, you're going to help release that hip as well. Let's come back up and come forward now. So just folding straight forward. And I'm actually just going to tip this a little bit so when we get down on the floor a little more, you guys can see everything really well. We're just going to stretch it out here for a moment. This is really just a class for those days when your hips are just very tight, or if you're someone who's always had really tight hips and you just want to get a little more release. Don't worry if you're not all the way down. If you're really tight in the hips, this may be enough just sitting here. So just breathe into it wherever you need that stretch. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take this right knee, bend it in, and we're just going to do a little movement, lifting the left knee, pulling in, and then lifting the right hip as we pull away. So just add that little twist in, breathe in. Exhale, let that hip come up. We want to really open and wake up the front of the hip. That can be really tight sometimes. We do a lot of sitting in our daily life, driving, sitting at desks, things like that. Depending on your job, you may sit a lot. So let's make sure we wake up that front of the hip. 2 more, breathe in. Exhale, open 1 more time. Here we go, we breathe in. Exhale, open, hold, twist away. So twist away from that back. Just fold it in. Breathing in and out. As we come up, we're going to take this back knee, slide it in, and then just lean back a little bit, okay? So keep the knee on the floor, push the right hip up, and just start to pull away, lean back. Maybe this is enough. Maybe you go back to your elbows, maybe you lay back. So again, different variations are gonna feel much better on different bodies, so always just be mindful of how your body personally is feeling. If you feel enough stretch seated here, maybe you're all the way up and you feel it, that may be a great place to stay. Okay, if you're really open in the hips and you just can't get to that tight spot, maybe lift that knee, pushing a little bit more weight over to the right. Or maybe you want to even pull that leg up, okay? Just listening to your body, figuring out for you what is working today, what feels good. All right, so once we're ready, we're going to gently guide ourselves back up. And then we're going to take our legs out to where our personal full straddle is. So that's going to be different again for each person. But just take that side stretch in that straddle, breathe in. Exhale, other side. We're not spending too much time on the side stretches because we're so focused on hips today. We're just going to get a little more into that, but let's come forward and just release here. Now don't worry again, if forward is not all the way down for you, no big deal. You do not have to have that belly on the floor. You can even stay seated here, but maybe just try walking your hands an inch or two forward, maybe drop to your elbows. Let your body guide you. Every time you practice, you're going to get a little more open. So if you choose to do this class maybe daily, which would be a great idea if you're trying to gain more flexibility in the hips. If you do this class daily, you might surprise yourself. Maybe in a few weeks you're crawling a little further forward. So always keep yourself open to the possibilities that your body can change and get a little more open over time. So we don't want to stay stuck, stagnant, always doing the pose the same way, really being open to doing it different. Even if we're advanced, some days our bodies are sore and they're telling us, don't go that far, just back off today. And that's good to listen to as well. Very, very important. So let's come back up. Let's shake those legs out. Should feel a little jello-like at this point. We're gonna flip right over to our belly, and we're gonna start to wake up the front of the body, but you're gonna get into those hips a little bit. So curling up, try to find a place where you feel some release through the front of those hips, okay? So if you have a little tightness in your back, you might wanna stay a little lower, but I still want you to try to think about what's happening in the front of your hips, even if you're down here. Open through the chest, breathe in. If you can lift higher, go for it. And wherever you're at, we're gonna roll a little bit to the right, okay? So we can release this tightness through the side. So if you're down lower, again, it might look like this. Wherever you need to feel it, as long as you're feeling this sideways, feeling this area of the hip, that's where you wanna be. Now we're gonna roll over to the left, same thing, just releasing through the front of those hips. Then back center, then we're gonna round up to our hands and knees, arch the back. Release the spine, and then we're gonna take some circles through the hips. So I'm gonna take my left knee up, circle the knee open and drop it down. So you're trying to create a big circle with that knee, okay? I do these often in a lot of the classes you may take on my channel, but I like to add this in, of course, for hip release. We're gonna reverse open, drop the knee down and round, because sometimes we have those tight, stagnant places, and adding these circles, we just create a little more movement, mobility, lubricate that joint before we go into those deeper stretches. Now, once you're ready, pull that left knee up towards your left shoulder, plant the heel right outside the left hand, turn your left toes out, and come into lizard. Walk the hands forward, release over the top of your right knee. Just stay here for a moment, okay? So, up on the hands, you might feel this more in that outer left hip. If you want to come deeper, go to maybe elbows, maybe drop the chest. Then you're gonna feel a little more inside. You might still feel a lot outside here. And also when you're up high, you may also feel this in the front of that right hip, okay? Not everyone's gonna be as low as I am here. Some of you may even choose to tuck that toe and hover. If that's the case, think about pushing your right hip forward. Feel that stretch through the front of the right hip so you can get even more release. We're actually going to add a little twist here. So we're gonna raise our left arm up, breathe in, gaze, and then reach back and look at that right foot. If it feels okay for your body, maybe pull the right foot in and again go deeper in the front of that right hip. Breathe in. Exhale, take just one more breath in. Very good, let's exhale, come back up, place that left hand down, tuck the right toe. We're gonna sweep the left leg up and back, breathe in. And we're gonna exhale, bring that left knee right up for pigeon. Release that knee, lift the chest, inhale. Exhale, let's just fold right over that left hip. We're just gonna be here for a little bit. So most of us probably are familiar with pigeon. It might be our go-to pose for hip release, but I wanted to do this more after doing some of those other hip stretches today to just see if that helps us. Maybe get a little deeper through our pigeon, and if you need to stay higher in pigeon, that's fine too. If you want to take that mermaid variation, pull that back foot in, and if you lean towards it, you can do that. That can help you also release the front of that right hip. Take about 1 to 2 more breaths here in that pigeon. Beautiful. When you're ready, hands come back under the shoulder. Let's just step through a little plank. Let's go through a little vinyasa flow, chaturanga, cobra, upward dog, back through that downward dog. Just walk your feet out, breathe in, breathe out. All right, hold that downward dog for a moment. We're just releasing, resetting. We're gonna get that other side in just a moment. And slowly drop your knees. You guys can stay where you're at, but I'm gonna flip just for you guys to see. We're taking right knee. We're gonna lift that knee up, open, and drop down. So creating those nice circles through the hips, just waking up any tight places. It's really important to just make sure that wherever we're at, we're listening to our body. Your body knows so much more than I could possibly what you need. So just always check in, see how you're feeling. Let's reverse that. Open, flip back up, drop the knee down. So if you feel tightness, stiffness in any places you're circling, that's where you want to breathe into it. Maybe stop, maybe pause there a little longer. Try to find what you can do to open that place up. Let's take that right knee up towards right shoulder now, and then plant your right foot up, turn your right heel in, and walk your hands forward until you release into that lizard. Chest is open, heart is open. You can stay here up high. You'll feel a little more in the front of that left hip. You should still feel some in that outer right hip. Or walk lower, maybe go deeper into that right hip. Maybe even rest here. Sometimes this can feel so nice if you have some soreness in that area where your glute meets your lower back. You can really get into that if you go a little lower. If you're someone who is feeling the need for that, you can also tuck that back toe, kind of hover and hang the front of that hip if you wish. I'm just trying to offer you guys some options depending on your level of soreness, tightness, where you need to feel that stretch. Let's circle our right arm back, look back at our left foot, and we may even choose to pull that foot in. If not, keep reaching back, looking back at the foot, finding that twist. Deep breaths in and out. Beautiful here. Exhale, raise that arm up again, maybe even pull out. Beautiful, and then we'll bring both hands down. We're gonna take our right leg up and back, breathe in. And then exhale, draw that right knee up, release for pigeon. And once you find pigeon, lift your chest, open your heart. And then just exhale over that front leg. And relax, and you're welcome to just stay here. Maybe just rest for as long as you need, or if you want to, again, take that mermaid variation and pull your back foot in or lean towards it, you can. Whatever variation feels good in your body. Remember that for pigeon, we're all going to be in a different space. So my ankle right now is pretty high up in line with that knee, but you can have that ankle close in by your hip, okay? So just depending on where you kind of naturally can feel comfortable in the pose. If you're feeling a lot of tension, stress, or strain in the pose, that's not really where you want to be. So check in with your body. You might be up higher. Some people will even do pigeon lifted with the back leg here like this, turning that back toe. So don't feel that you can't change the variation to suit your body. You absolutely can, in finding that spot where you can really get that release that you need. So wherever you're at, 1 to 2 more breaths here. Very good. Now we're going to take the back leg, swing it around. We're going to try double pigeon here, okay? So I'm going to put left ankle either in front if I'm a little tighter. So tighter would mean like if I tried to put this ankle on top, my knees up here in my chest. That's not going to allow me a lot of release, so maybe I'll put it here and it might go down a little bit, okay? But if you're pretty open, you can probably stack and the knees may lay flat, okay? Wherever you're at is just fine. We're going to turn our chest towards the top foot and lean forward. Hold here and stretch. You might feel a little bit through that outer left hip, lower back, glutes. Just breathe into it. Beautiful here. Come back up. Switching sides. We just kind of switch. Sometimes this is also called log stacking pose. It's like you just switch those logs, stack one on the other. Again, if your knee's in your chest, just put that foot in front. It should lay down a little bit more. Shoulders turn towards that top right foot, over towards the left knee, and we're going to just reach over and really feel this release. Outer hip, lower back. These are just wonderful stretches to do daily if you have time, because our hips carry so much stress, so much tension, and so many of our emotions that if we can start to release that, we feel better overall. We can have a more cheerful outlook on life, even when life brings us a lot of stress, okay? So we all have so much stress in our lives, and just taking these few minutes to release that from our body is just so helpful for our everyday well-being. So just breathe into that. Don't worry about what a pose looks like or how advanced you feel you've gotten in certain poses. It's more just about that release, about feeling good and at home in your body. So one more breath in. Now exhale, come up, and now we turn to the side, and we're just going to gently come down to the mat. Just hug the back of your thighs, roll your spine down. Let's just give our knees a nice little squeeze, rock side to side. We're almost done, but I want to give us a couple more hip releases here on the mat. So let's just start to circle those knees around. Just circle. Let any tightness go. And take that the other way when you're ready. Your hips may feel a little sore after some of these stretches if you don't often stretch your hips, so no worries at all if that's the case. Just breathe into it, and we're going to just let our knees open to the side now. So this is a good option if you're a little tighter through the hips, just holding onto the knees. Maybe try extending one leg then the other. Maybe just gently pressing down, or if you're ready, lift those feet, find your happy baby pose. Pull the knees down, maybe rock side to side. You can hold feet, you can hold ankles. The main difference here is that your feet are up towards the sky rather than down, kind of out in front of you. So if you can turn those feet up, you're in that happy baby. Lower back is flat. If you'd like to straddle, if you're a little more open, take a reclined straddle. Let's all just take 3 to 5 more breaths here, whichever variation you choose. softly. Let those knees close back in. We're going to plant our feet to the wider edges of our mat and let our knees fall together. So we've done so much opening. Let's just let the knees fall together now. Right hand over left shoulder, left hand over right shoulder. Just close your eyes. Deep breaths in and out. Give yourself that nice hug. Bring some warmth, some energy back to your body. Thank yourself for taking this time to care for your body today, to open up your hips, open up your heart, your mind. And once you're ready, let your arms reach overhead. We're going to let our knees open and feel our lower back press flat. We're just going to roll those hips up one more time just to really wake up the glutes, which support our hips. So we want to have strong glutes to support those hips, keeping the hip flexors from doing as much work and carrying so much of our weight when we lift our legs and things. So just hold here 3 to 5 breaths. I know it's a challenge. We may be a little shaky. Our glutes may feel tired. But again, if you're going to do this as a daily practice to open the hips, having that balance of strength and flexibility is so important. The stronger those glutes are, the easier it's going to be for us to find that mobility and openness in our hips. So let's take 2 to 3 more breaths here. Breathe in. Exhale again. Breathe in. Exhale. You can do one more breath. Breathe in. As you exhale, melt that spine down. Beautiful here. Bring your feet together. Reclined butterfly. Just relax. You worked so hard opening your body. And now we can take Shavasana. You can keep that reclined butterfly, or if your legs are kind of done opening, let them slide out. And we're going to bring our focus to something we're grateful for here. As we mentioned earlier, hips carry a lot of our stress, a lot of our tension in life. And we can notice that just like how plants, when they hear kind words, they grow better, they flourish. And when things are unkindly said to them, or they are not cared for with love and compassion, they wither. Same thing happens to us as each of our cells are resonating with our thoughts. So if you're thinking negatively, stressful things often, your body's going to really feel that. So let's think about positive things for a moment, just as we can in this moment here. Something we're grateful for, something that brings a smile to our face, maybe someone you love. Keep that with you, keep that in your heart, and help all those cells in your body to be filled with that love, that positivity, that gratitude for all of these beautiful things life has for you. And even at times when we have a hard time finding things to be grateful for, maybe our life has been a struggle at times, just think about the fact that you're here and you're breathing and the miracle that that is. You are love and you are loved. Keep that with you, and you're welcome to stay here in this Shavasana as long as you need. But if you're done with your practice for today, feel free to slowly come out. I'm just kind of rolling up today. You can rock side to side, however you want to get there. And just take another moment here. Breathe in, palms together. Exhale, palms in front of the heart. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you feel more released, more relaxed, and have less stress and tension in your body. I am so happy and grateful to share these workouts with you, and I hope you are welcome to come to class in person or join me back online again soon. Subscribe to my channel for a notification anytime that we post a new video, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.